Being a leader comes with challenges. The Leading to Win podcast will help leaders make wise decisions by leading to win. Here's your host, Marty Haynes. Thank you for joining us today at Leading to Win with Marty Haynes. It's good to have you, where our goal is to help you become a better leader. And today we've got a show favorite today. We have Joanie Winters from Winters Law Firm. And Joanie, it's good to have you back with us again.
Thank you, Marty. It's always a pleasure.
All right. Well, it is that time of the year today. And what we want to talk about briefly today are parties, company parties, holiday parties, Christmas parties, and we can kind of extend this out to all kind of company events. And because if you're not careful, companies can get themselves in trouble. So briefly this morning, let's talk about some of the things we need to watch for, things we need to do, make sure that we protect ourselves, protect our employees from things that can go on during a party and things that may lead to problems afterwards. So let's hit a couple of those today if we can.
Sure. And you bring up a good point. We're not just talking about Christmas parties or holiday parties. This is really any event that a company may put on, whether it's a company picnic, a dinner, and we do want to protect our employees, and we also want to protect them from themselves sometimes. And I think that the first thought when you hear of a company get together is the danger of serving alcohol, but that's not the only liability or the only issue to worry about. We do have several, so we'll take them one at a time and talk about some things that employers can do to protect themselves and also their employees, as you mentioned. Mm-hmm. So alcohol, let's address that. It's a personal choice by the company as to whether or not they serve alcohol, but one thing the company should do is certainly limit the consumption. You can do that by giving your employees tickets, although that doesn't really work because those employees who don't drink give their tickets to those who do. Yep. And so that really doesn't work. I always recommend you hire an outside bartender because the dram shop liability laws cover commercial entities who serve alcohol. They don't cover us as employers. So hire an outside firm or bartender, but make sure that bartender understands your expectations. Years ago, we had mini bottles in the state of South Carolina. Everybody remembers those. Now we're on free pour. Free pour is more than what was in a mini bottle. So explain to your bartender or your server what your expectations are as an employer. No free pours, no double scotches, and limit the bar time. So 2 hours open bar, then shut it down. This is not a frat party. It's a company get together. So, and always serve food and always serve non-alcoholic beverages. Not everyone drinks. Mm-hmm. I can tell you, I've been at gatherings where people feel the need to make you have something to drink. So I have learned to either get a ginger ale or a tonic, throw a lime in it, and people think I have a drink and they leave me alone.
Yep.
So that's alcohol. Be very careful with folks that do overindulge too much, and take their keys, get them a room, get them an Uber, get them something, but don't allow them to drive. Yeah. So that's alcohol. And again, it's a company choice. You don't have to have alcohol to have fun. Yeah. So keep that in the back of your mind.
And that's true. And that's kind of where, I'm in insurance and we deal with risk. And as a business, you kind of try to let the employer know that. I mean, people will come to a party, a holiday party, if you don't have alcohol. And I know, it's just one of those calls, and each business has to make that decision. That's why we're bringing it up today is you just got to make a decision. And if you decide to do that, just make sure you try to cover as much of the risk as you can cover. You can't cover every situation that can ever happen, but at least try to come up with a plan to address those risks.
Absolutely. The other risk that you run into, particularly if you are serving alcohol, which I can tell you 73% of employers have alcohol at their get-togethers. You should have a policy in your employee handbook that addresses whether you should be having alcohol at get-togethers, with the CEO having the discretion of allowing it or what have you. But also remember, when folks have too much to drink, sometimes they get a little feisty, shall we say.
Mm-hmm.
And so we run the risk of some kind of sexual harassment allegation or discrimination the following day or even later. Under Title VII, which is the bundle of discrimination laws that employers are bound by, our employees have 300 days to report an allegation of sexual harassment. Now, our handbook may say otherwise, but under the law, they have 300 days to go to the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission and allege sexual harassment. That's a long time. So if we have folks that are indulging, and maybe Bob's had his eye on Mary for a long time, but Mary doesn't want any parts of him. Well, now he's fueled by a couple of scotches and he starts to come on to Mary. She tells him no, go away. And he starts to put his hands on her, or what have you, just any kind of incident like that could occur. And now we have a sexual harassment allegation. Happens too frequently, or folks, because they've had too much to drink, they get a little casual with their dancing or their attire or whatever. And so that is a danger. One thing I recommend, and y'all are going to think this is silly, but I've seen it at Christmas parties, particularly, don't hang mistletoe at a company gathering. Okay. I know that sounds crazy, but you're inviting trouble. Okay. Be very careful with what kind of activities you plan for these parties. If you're doing games of some sort, stay away from anything that has any kind of sexual innuendo attached to it. Be careful with your Santas. If you have a Santa at your party, sometimes if Santa has too much to drink, Santa gets a little carried away. I will tell you that most of the case law that's out there for sexual harassment has something to do with Santa, who's had too much to drink. So, wow. Yeah. And I can tell you that if you look at the types of claims that come under the discrimination and harassment laws, in general, race tops every other claim, but not when it comes to holiday get-togethers. When it comes to holiday get-togethers, sexual harassment is at the top. And so to me, there's a connection between that and the 73% of us that serve alcohol.
Exactly. And I know that's a big one. And I'm sure, and kind of move over a little bit in a different area, yes, you have alcohol and you have those issues, but just what about just general issues of the way a party may be set up? You have employees that maybe have a disability, things you have to watch for when you host a crowd.
And that's a great point, Marty, because right now we're all crowd shy. We're all worried about COVID, and well, we should be. And so if you are having something off-site or even on-site at your business, make sure that the party is set up for social distancing, for those of our employees who may be disabled or incapable of getting up to a second floor restaurant. Make sure that if you're doing an outside venue, you have gone and you've looked at it and you've taken everything into consideration, both ADA for our disabled folks, or even just our senior employees. If we have employees who are senior and the restaurant's on the third floor, but the restroom's on the second, that's really not a comfortable position to put our employees in. Why would we do that? Yeah. So make sure that you've scoped out the venue. It makes sense. Make sure it's professional. This is really not Asian to Hooters. So find a place that's professional. There are tons of them. And I can tell you right now, as we all know, the hospitality industry is hurting big time because of COVID. And so there are lots of deals out there to rent a nice hospitality suite that allows us to social distance and be safe while at the same time enjoy each other's company.
Yeah. And you mentioned make sure they're professional. One area that sometimes people forget is food prep, especially today. You sure would hate to have a shrimp bar and or something with some seafood and everybody wind up sick. So there's a lot of things you have to think about when you plan these types of get-togethers.
Absolutely. The other concern, and this is one that gets forgotten, are wage and hour issues. So if we have non-exempt employees who perhaps sit on an events committee and they put the party together, and on a Saturday they all meet at the Holiday Inn to look at the banquet room, that's compensable time. just because they volunteered to be on an events committee
Mhm.
doesn't mean they don't get paid for that. So we have to be careful directing employees to plan events on their off time, or also to have the party or the event be mandatory. If we're required to attend an event and we're non-exempt employees, it's compensable. We have to get paid for that time.
Yeah.
Employers tend to forget that just because it seems like, well, Mary did that because she's a good employee and she
Mhm.
wanted it to go well.
Right.
That's true, but Mary should have gotten paid.
Yeah. Okay. All right. There's some good points. Before we wrap this up, any final thoughts on parties as we move forward at the end of 2020 and into hopefully a nice 2021?
Other than it is possible to have a party that is safe, that is fun, and that is free of liability for the employer. This is supposed to be a get together, bringing everyone together out of a work environment into a social environment to have some fun. And it doesn't have to be crazy with alcohol or dancing, or it doesn't have to be. Just make it fun for the employees. Not an evening of speeches. That's incredibly boring sometimes, but you can mix it up and you can have a good time without having great liability.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, Joni, thank you for your time today. It's very beneficial information for employers as we move forward the rest of the year, and appreciate your time today.
Thank you, and I wish everybody a happy holiday season.
Yes, good deal. All righty. Well, thank you everybody for watching Leading to Win today. We hope you have a good day, and we'll see you soon. Take care.